our next project, we're going to be making a Kumihimo bracelet using beads. Now, you can use any type of bead you like, but obviously with this cord that I want to use today, which is the 0.5 smooth and slinky, I will need a relatively larger hole bead, but I also will want to be able to thread these beads. Now, what I've devised with this here is if you just super glue the end of your thread, don't cut your thread yet, leave a nice long spool and don't cut the thread, and then just super glue the last, 3/4 of an inch to inch, and then leave it to dry until it's very, very hard. So while that's drying, and just, ordinary box standard super glue is fine. And while that's drying, I'll talk about some other options. So I'll just put this over here for a moment. There we go. So the other things we have, the size 6 seed beads are perfect because they will fit on the thicker cords. But you do have to, by gluing the ends, you have to put them on one at a time. We also have a range here of high tenacity polyester thread. The high tenacity means it's very, very strong and it doesn't stretch, because you don't want thread that's going to stretch on you, because then all the thread will show between the beads. And I'm using here, because this thread is also, it's a nice thickness, it's a size 6. I've got here a needle that I'm using, which is, here we go, it's a large hole needle. If you can see, the whole center section of the needle is actually the eye. If you can just see that there. And then once you've popped your thread through, it just snaps shut and you have your thread on the needle. Now, this thread is fine enough that I've actually been able to thread on these lovely check glass lentils for a project that I'll make another day. The cord is quite hard now and dry, so I can now prepare it to make it like a little needle at the end. So what I'm going to do is I just have a pair of sharp scissors, and I'll just come in and just cut it into a fine point. Cut it off. Oh no, that's good. And the bead goes through easily. It's very easy to work out how many beads you need to put on each thread for your bracelet, depending on the length you want. So if I have an 8-inch bracelet and I'm using the size 6 seed beads, well, that's 6 times 8 is 48, which is going to be more than enough, because by the time I've taken away the clasp, I probably only need about 7.5 inches or so. However, if I used my check glass lentils, there's 9 here, and of course 9/8 is 72, so I'd need 72 beads on each string. Now, however many strings you use to have beads is entirely up to you. You can use all 8 strings, as few as 1, or maybe just 2. Now, I've laid out my threads and attached them to my Kumihimo disc, ready to begin weaving. But you'll notice what I've done here is I've already threaded on the beads, and then I've wrapped them onto a little thread organizer. As I said, this isn't necessary, but if you're doing a necklace and it's very long, it's a good idea. Now, we talked earlier about the how many beads for the size 6, and so I've put about 50 approximately on each string, and then to put it onto the thread organizer, I simply wind it around a few times with no beads. Then I'll just start threading the beads around it easily, and I'll leave about 6 or so beads here ready to work with. Once I'm there, then I'll just close up the thread organizer and I'm ready to begin. So just like before, I've got the 8 threads and they're nice and firmly done, and on the back I've attached my weight and my waist cord, same waist cord, and I've also started to weave without beads, just about a centimetre or less, even half a centimetre is enough, just enough to get your bead cap on before the beads begin. So let's begin. Now start as we normally do at the top on the right hand side with your right hand. Flick up and flick the bead down. It's important that it sits underneath this thread, so just pop it under, and I just hold it in place with my finger, then I can hold my cord and bring it down into position. Same with the next thread. Pick it up, drop the bead down, slide it underneath this cross one, hold it in position and take it up to the top, and then continue as normal. I'll do another one. These are black beads, might be a bit harder to see. Drop it down, pop it under there and down, pick it up, drop it down underneath and down, and you can see them all coming around here. Oops, 2 there. Drop it in and down and drop it underneath. And down. So I'm continuing to braid, and I'll keep going until I've finished my bracelet length. However, at the other end, what's very important is to remember to do a half to 1 centimetre without beads, so you've got space just as the same at the other end to put inside your clasp. I've come to the end of my braid now. It's the length I need, and what I've done is I've taken off the weight from the end. I had a few little beads left over, so I've taken them off and I've removed the spools as well. So now I've just got thread, because I need to not forget to braid without beads, just that little end, the same at this end, so I can pop my clasp onto it as we did before. So I'll just do a little bit of that without beads. Which is very quick. So when you've finished your half a centimetre to a centimetre, take it off the board as we did before in the normal bracelet, and then glue in your ends. And don't forget to tie it off and to stitch it up, and then to glue in your ends just like we did on the plain bracelet without beads. As before, I'm just tying 1 knot this way. Oops, tighten that up. 1 knot this way. Even do a double knot if you want to. And then both of these come off. Bring them all together, bring the knot here, and then we'll stitch it so that then by the time we cut it off it'll be down about there, which will be about the same length as that. And then just poke all the ends through. There we go. And then just slide the knot up to the end. Now this knot will be cut off later, but still take your time and just get all the ends down so that the knot comes up nice and firm at the end there. There we go. So I'll get my needle and thread and show you how to finish this off. And I'll just tie a knot. And then I'd like to wrap this cord around here a few times. Just hold that up here and bring this around a few times. Once, two, three. You only really want to do a little bit because you don't want to, we don't want too big a space because the clasp is not very deep. And then I'll go through again and do a couple of backhands here. And then finally, I'll just do another knot. I mean, this will all be covered in glue anyway, but that'll just... And now I'm going to cut it across here. Just get these little threads out of the way. This takes a few minutes. You can dissolve through this, and I usually do one cord at a time. There we go. And now I'm ready to put my glue in. So now I've got my clasp. You can see it's hollow at both ends, ready for the cord, and the little twist lock. It's magnetic, so it's strong. There it is. Okay, that's ready. And this is 5mm across, and that fits quite nicely on here. Just a nice snug fit. And once it's in, it covers all my cord as well, all the white sewing thread. I mean, you could use sewing thread same colour if you wanted to, but it's lost inside here. But before I glue it on, I'm going to just slide on a little charm with a little bail and just wiggle it on my bracelet. Or you could, if this was a necklace, this could be a little, bail for a pendant even. And then I'm going to glue it on. So I've got my glue here, and which, there we go. This glue, it's F6000. The good thing about it is it dries completely clear, completely waterproof, but also flexible. It's different to the E6000. It dries a little bit quicker, but it does take about a day to cure. So what we do, this is the way I do it anyway, is I just get a nice big blob and put it down inside there. It's messy, but it doesn't make your fingers stick together. That's why I like this. But once it's in, it never comes out. And then I'll just pop that in. Now, as I said, it takes a little while to cure. Give it a clean. There we go. And then I'll do the other end as well. A little bit more glue. Now, if you don't have this glue, you can use super glue. But I like this because once it's set, it really doesn't come, it never comes undone. Nice big blob. Pop it in. And pop that in there. And I'll just leave that to set now. But otherwise, I'll need to leave this to set. So I'll just put that down now and leave it be to set.